So you just got the brand new Intel Arc B580 graphics card, but you don't know how to install it in your system. Don't worry, my friends. In this video, I'm going to show you not only how to remove your old graphics card, drivers and all, but I'm going to show you how to install the brand new B580, drivers and all, and then how to optimize Windows to get the best performance. I'm going to show you first how to remove this guy, then we're going to do a quick unboxing, and then we'll get to the install. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So in the current install of Windows, we'll open up a browser and we'll go to a new tab and we'll go to wagnardsoft.com. And down here, we'll see display driver uninstaller. We'll click on that, whatever version it is at the time. Then scroll down a little bit and we'll see, click here for download and support. So click there. Then scroll down a little bit more and display driver uninstaller. We'll click that right there. And then finally, download DDU portable self-extracting. Okay, once that's downloaded, we'll come back up here. We'll go to intel.com. Then we'll go to support. And then under drivers and downloads, we'll go to the download center. Scroll down a tiny bit and then we'll select graphics. Over here on the left-hand side, we'll go to Intel Arc dedicated graphics family. And then the very first one, Intel Arc and Iris Xe graphics, we'll click download here and it starts downloading. While you do see an RGB controller there, unfortunately, this card does not have RGB. So hopefully your system does. All right, now that's done downloading, we'll go ahead, close out of the browser. So depending on the card you have, you may have other software attached to that card that we need to remove, because if not, it's going to freak out when it touches a brand new graphics card. We'll do that real quick now. This Asus 460 has an Asus Tweak software over here. So we need to remove that because the Intel card isn't going to know what that is. So we'll click on the start button and type in control, and we'll go into the control panel. Then we'll go to programs and features. And then we'll just double click on GPU Tweak 3 install and uninstall. Again, this is for my particular card. Your card may have a different piece of software, so you might have to look in there for that software. If not, let me know what you have and I might be able to help you out. And then we'll click close here and close here. Now we're going to hold the left shift key, then right click on the start button, then hover over shutdown or sign out, and then click restart. Okay, and now we can release the left shift key. And then on this screen, we'll select troubleshoot, then advanced options, and then startup settings. And finally, under startup settings, restart to change Windows options such as, and we'll click restart. Now on the startup settings screen, after the restart, we have three options that we can use. We can use enable safe mode, number 4, or number 5, enable safe mode with networking, and maybe number 6, enable safe mode with command prompt, but that might be a little difficult. So we'll do number 4, enable safe mode. All right, now we're in safe mode, and you know we're in safe mode if on all 4 corners we see safe mode written out over here. And then we also see the Windows build version up here. So now here we're going to go ahead on the File Explorer. We'll click there. Then we'll go to Downloads. And then here we'll find DDU. So double click on that. Then under Smart Screen, we'll click Run. Then you can extract it to this folder, but I'm going to extract it to the root under a folder named DDU. And then we'll scroll down. We'll go to wherever we extracted that to. So for me, on the C drive under the DDU folder. And then we'll go into the DDU folder, and then we'll select display driver uninstaller.exe. This seems to be the first time. You're right, it is. So we'll click OK here and resize this window so that it'll actually fit. So this part is incredibly important. We have an NVIDIA graphics card right here. So we're going to place a check under remove physics, which may mean we need to do a reinstall of games, which will help performance as well. And then we want to make sure we do not have a check under keep NVIDIA control panel global program settings, because we're getting rid of the NVIDIA card. We don't need the NVIDIA control panel. So make sure we do not have a check here. Now, this is the important part under AMD specific options. If you have an AMD chipset, if you're not sure what chipset you have, if you have an AMD CPU, right over here, you have an AMD chipset. So that'll make it a little easier for you to know which one it is. We want to uncheck everything here. Okay, that way it doesn't remove any of the AMD chipset software, which could impact performance. And then scroll down a tiny bit more, and I've been seeing them place checks here, but just in case they don't have a check here, you want to check here under prevent downloads of drivers from Windows updates when Windows search for a driver for a device. So what that's supposed to do is when we remove all the drivers and we shut down the computer, we pop in the brand new graphics card, then we turn on the computer. That's supposed to not allow Windows to say, hey, you don't have drivers. Let me go ahead and update your drivers. We don't want Windows to do that because typically what it installs is WICO drivers, which WICO is good, Window Hardware Quality Lab, but they include older drivers instead of the newer drivers, and we don't want the older drivers because newer drivers have better performance. Aside from that, we want to control all of that on our own. Then also, what DDU is a piece of software that removes all of the old drivers. Old drivers, after a period of time, after you update your drivers and update your drivers and update your drivers, change your old card, update your drivers, you have a tremendous amount of drivers there that are going to impact performance because we have all these drivers here. Now you're adding more. So the system isn't going to be able to all the time correctly understand what drivers to use. And that causes all sorts of performance issues and a lot of times blue screens and things like that. So DDU strips all of the old drivers that we had, gives us a perfect foundation so that we can install brand new drivers. Also, we need to do this in safe mode because in regular mode, Windows is using all of those drivers. So as you're uninstalling them, if you try to many times, it's holding on to something that's in use and it can't remove it. In safe mode, we're not using those drivers. We're using base Windows drivers so that now we're able to remove all the old stuff and not have anything left behind. So now we'll go ahead and click close. Here under select device type, I'm selecting GPU because we're removing the graphical processing units drivers, and I have NVIDIA, so I want to select NVIDIA. Now, if you're using onboard video or on-die video coming from your CPU, you want to make sure you select that because that's still a driver, that's still a graphics driver. So if you're using AMD graphics, be it a card or from the CPU, you select AMD. If you're using Intel graphics, being from an Intel CPU or an Intel graphics card, you select that. In this case, we're removing drivers from an NVIDIA card, so we'll select NVIDIA. And now we'll click clean and shut down because after the drivers get cleaned, we want the system to shut down so we can install the new graphics card. So click there, and this will only take a few seconds. So now that the system is off, we're going to go ahead and remove the old graphics card. So on the back of your system, I like to disconnect every single cable. I don't want anything to come back into the system, potentially turning the system back on. So USB, definitely HDMI since we're removing the graphics card. Then for the power, we don't want to disconnect the power because then we lose ground, but we do want to flick the power switch off. That way, as we're messing inside of the system, the machine doesn't turn on by mistake. That happens sometimes. It's definitely happened to me. Now, one very important thing, anytime you work inside of the system, you need to make sure you have all of that ESD or electrostatic discharge out of your hands, because if you touch something in the system with ESD, there is a tremendous possibility you're going to zap and kill the component. So what I highly recommend you do, if you don't want to wear a wrist strap, which I never do, I hate them, is just put your hands on metal inside of the case. Not anything here, just metal from the case. That's going to go ahead and discharge. Sometimes you'll feel it zap onto the case, and that's where we want it to go, onto the case, not onto the components. So now that I've rubbed my hands all over the case, let's go ahead and disconnect the PCIe connector from the graphics card. It's going to be different on some cards. Like this one is at the very top, the little clip, holding the PCIe connector into the card. On some other cards, it's at the bottom. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead, push on this little clip right here, and that's going to raise this right over here. And then we can remove the PCIe connector from the card. Real simple. And next, we're going to remove the screws from the front of the card, holding the card in place. Now, I have gravity working against me since I have the system standing up. Most of you are going to be doing this with the system laying down. It's just a lot easier for me to record this with the system standing up. So the reason I bring up gravity is right now the card is loose. Under most situations, the card would fall out, but there is a little clip back here holding the card in its place. Let me show you that real quick. All right, so first off, I'm going to be holding the card so that it doesn't fall out once we push that clip in. Now we're going to push this little clip in so that it releases the card. If you look real carefully, you'll see the card move out a little tiny bit. Okay, moved out a tiny bit, but now it moved out enough so that it released the card and we can just pull it out nice and easy. Now, this is the part that goes underneath the bar here that latches the card and locks it in place, so you can't just pull it out, because if you do, you end up ripping out the PCIe slot, and we don't want to do that. All right, and we're going to do a quick unboxing, so if you're not into unboxings, you can skip on the timeline below. But Intel Arc B580. On the bottom here, we have minimum system requirements, which it does require a 600 watt power supply, as well as one 8-pin PCIe power connector. It can be a 6+2 as well, and 1x16 PCIe slot. All right, and then UPC serial number and all that good stuff. Nothing here, nothing along over here. And over here, this was sealed, but I opened it. I just wasn't recording. Whoops, I'm recording now. And along the back over here, Intel Arc B580, Intel Arc, play, create, generate, AI powered performance, interesting. Real-time ray tracing, so that's cool. Hopefully competition to NVIDIA. Powerful content creation. Definitely incredibly interesting. I want to see how it's going to perform encoding and decoding, since it does provide dual media engine with AVI codec support. Oh, awesome. So we'll go ahead and actually slide it out this way. And let's open it up. Okay, so along up here, it's really cool. Here's the card. And then up here on the top flap, they have this pamphlet. And right up here, this little insert. So I'm going to put this aside for right now. Intel Arc graphics card quick start guide. This literally has nothing. It's garbage. All right. Then this comes in there. It's pretty cool. Open it up. And then it's weird because here they have so that you can place something in. Just taking out everything from the side here. And then here they have a graphics card with 3M adhesive that you can like clamp right in here. And then thinking that's going to work so that you can see something over here. That part's not too important. Just gonna go over the card itself. Ooh, more over here. And this is where I guess you would put that in either way. But that is pretty cool. Punch out this window along. They went a lot out on this, but let me know if you're interested. I'll do a separate video on what this is exactly. I don't want to waste your time in case you're not interested in packaging. Then we have the graphics card, which again, I'll get into in one sec. Just want to make sure there's nothing else we're missing. They really went all out on packaging. So, ooh, okay, so this is what was covering the card. So you can clean your monitor or something with it. That's pretty cool. I like that. And then it shows Intel Arc and all that. And the card is beautiful. Okay, great presentation. Kind of looks like a little screen here. This is where the fan blows hot air or warm air from the card out into the top of the system. And I really like this box. Just difficult to take out. All right, and just want to make sure nothing else Okay, great presentation. Here, ooh, this is like rubberized matte finish. This feels really nice, and like I really like it a lot. And here are the fans, and then Intel Arc, and here is the PCIe by 8 connector. Again, you can put a 6+2 if you need to. Intel Arc B580. This is really nice. Serial number UPC. And then of course, make sure you remove this. This protects the PCIe fingers from anything dirt or gunk or anything. So it makes perfect contact in the PCIe slot. Nice. Okay, and then along the front over here, DP, DP, DP. Oh, that's HDMI. Oh no, that's DP and HDMI. So 3 DPs, 1 HDMI. Nice. I'm gonna put this over here. All right, now I'm incredibly excited. Let's go put this in the system real quick. We're going to grab the card and we're going to slide the IO part, this back here, into right back here. There's a little slot in between the motherboard and the case that these two are going to go into. So you want to make sure that when you're installing the card, these two little pieces don't stick out, because the card is not going to slide in all the way if they do. So again, you want it in between the case and the motherboard, just like this. Then make sure that the locking mechanism, or the PCIe locking mechanism, is open, is not closed like this, because then the card won't go in. So open it up. And now we want to make sure that these gold fingers, these PCIe fingers, disappear into the PCIe slot. So we'll just push it in right here. And as we do that, you'll notice this locking mechanism over here is going to clamp up, locking the card in place. And 1, 2, 3. All right, it locks into place. You will typically hear a little click once that snaps into place. So now your card's not going to be pulled out no matter what we do, unless we pull incredibly hard, and we don't want to do that. And now we'll make sure we screw the card in. And now we'll push the PCIe connector into the slot, but you notice there is no clip up here. That means the clip is in the bottom. We want to make sure that the clip is where the little stub is, right over here. So we're going to go ahead and just turn this upside down so that the clip is at the bottom. And then we'll just push this in right over here. And then you'll notice that little clip lock in. And most times you'll hear a little click as well once that clip is completely in and locked in place. Okay, now we've installed the card physically. Let's go ahead, plug in all the cables real quick. All right, so first we'll just plug in all the USB devices. Again, you don't need to unplug them, but I like to do it just in case. Okay, and if you came from onboard video back up here, you need to make sure you plug in your HDMI or display port back onto the card itself right here. So this is HDMI, and we'll go to that only HDMI port right up here. And then of course, make sure you turn on the power supply. Now we'll turn on the system for the first time with the new card. Okay, now I'm noticing there is an Intel Arc right over here. Hopefully you won't have a problem with that, because I don't think there's a way to turn that off, but we'll see now. Now that we have everything in, we'll go into File Explorer, we'll go to Downloads, and we'll double click on the Intel drivers we downloaded for this card. Then we'll click Begin Installation. Okay, I agree. And of course, make sure to read through all this incredibly important stuff. I accept. And the installer will perform the following operations: install the graphics drivers, the graphics software, the driver support assistant, the continuing improvement program, and the graphics command center. Let's go ahead and customize that. And if you want to get rid of anything here, you can, and you definitely want to place a check here. Even though we've gone in and removed all the drivers, this is a just in case. So now we'll click Start. And don't worry, you're going to see your screen flash and flicker a bit. As soon as this is done installing, I'm going to stop capturing with my capture card and then capture it with software so I can show you some of the features the card provides. It tells us here that we can launch the software, or we can reboot, or we can just finish. So what I'd recommend is uncheck here, then finish. And now we'll go ahead and manually right click on the start button, shut down or sign out, and restart. It only takes a few seconds, but the restarts, any restart that Windows or whatever recommends you do, is incredibly important because it allows it to unlock the registry and then also make changes to files, not all files, but some files that Windows is holding on to while it's in use. So restart, if the software asks for it, just do it. It only takes a few seconds. Now that we're in Windows, we'll click on this little triangle here, and then we'll right click on Intel graphics software and click open. And we'll start from here. Let's go ahead and open it up. So here we can see resizable bar is enabled. This is a feature not only in software, but in the BIOS as well. And we can click over here so that we can see all the hardware information and software information. Preferences here, everything you'd like to see in the menu. And I don't want to allow data collection, so I uncheck that. Support. Okay, and now we'll come back here under home. Now we'll go to profiles, and then here we can add graphics profiles, and you can see here it's scanning for games. So it's looking through my entire install and everything to find the best performance for games. So if I click on Helldivers, here it gives me all the information about different things I can enable and disable from Helldivers 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and I'm sure more as time progresses. So that's cool. And this is going to help when I do the gameplay video. Under graphics here, we can see frame synchronization. If we click under application choice, VSync off, VSync on, smooth sync, and smart VSync are our options. FPS limiter, if we like to limit it to 30 or to 60 or to 120, we can do that here. Low latency mode improves the responsiveness between the user input graphics, rendering for a better gaming experience. Off, on plus boost. Image sharpening, sharpening strength. 3D rendering, adaptive tessellation, on or off. Under display, we'll have scaling mode, display scaling, GPU scaling, retro, scaling method, maintain display scalings, custom, and then variable refresh rate, incredibly important, enabled or disabled. You want that to be enabled. And then you can mess with the hue, saturation, contrast, brightness, all in all. Color depth, depending if your monitor supports more, 8-bit, 10-bit, or 12-bit. I think my monitor only does 8, but I'll look into that. RGB color format, RGB or YCB. I'll look into my monitor. So that's definitely going to have to be with your monitor. So look into that. Information. Here goes over the card. And then this is one incredibly important one because it's going to help tremendous your performance. Variable refresh rate mode, or G-Sync or FreeSync, essentially. Full screen and windowed, disabled. So I do full screen and windowed personally. That way you get everything. So that's definitely an incredibly important one. And then performance, this tells us all the performance metrics on our system. And then tuning, if you want to play a little bit with overclocking. Okay, so that's great information. One of the main reasons is to enable over here variable refresh rate. Now the other one that we want to play with, so there's pretty much, make sure here, notification, new apps detected, or settings. Okay, we've already gone through all of this, so I can close out of here. The other incredibly important one we want to do is right click on the desktop, then we go to display settings, and we scroll down a tiny bit to advanced display. Make sure right over here, Windows always defaults to 60. My monitor does 120 Hertz. So I click on that and I click on 119.99. It typically shows 120, but if I do that, keep changes, now I have the full performance of my monitor. So games are going to play so much more smoothly, not only because of switching up to 120 Hertz, see here it shows 120, but because we also enabled variable refresh rate mode. So that is awesome. Then we have another option down here. This is the Intel Driver Support Assistant. So right click on here, check for new drivers. So that scans your system, and then here tells you all of the updates available for your system. You don't need to install this before. As I showed you, you could have unchecked the Intel Drivers and Support Assistant, and that wouldn't have put that there. So totally up to you. So in this video, I've shown you how to remove the applications your card depends on, your old card. Then I've shown you how to remove the old drivers, then also how to remove your old graphics card. We did a bit of an unboxing as well of the new graphics card. Then we installed the new card, and we also installed the brand new drivers. Then I showed you how to optimize not only the drivers but Windows as well, so that you can get the best performance. In the next video I'm actually going to be doing a build video, a brand new build video including this card. It would have been the 4060, but since we got this card, it makes it even a better budget system. So make sure you watch out for that video. If that video is out, you can check it out right up here. And if not, there'll be a video in its place until that video is out. This is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.